Clara May Whitmore dropped to her knees in the dirt and begged.
Please, I'll do anything. My children haven't eaten in 2 days.
The boarding house owner spat at her feet and slammed the door. Behind her, 5 hungry children watched their mother crawl in the dust of Cedar Hollow, Colorado. The whole town was watching, and not one soul moved to help. She didn't know that a cowboy across the street had just made a decision that would change everything. Before we continue this incredible story, please subscribe to our channel and follow Clara's journey to the very end. Comment below which city you're watching from so we can see how far this story has traveled. Clara May Whitmore dropped to her knees and grabbed the woman's skirt.
Please, Mrs. Pemberton, 2 days. My children haven't eaten in 2 days. I'll scrub your floors. I'll wash your sheets. I'll do anything.
The boarding house owner kicked her hand away. Get off me, woman. You're dirtying my dress.
Please.
I said, get off. The door slammed so hard, the windows rattled. Clara stayed on her knees. Dust coated her dress. Her palms bled where gravel had cut them. Behind her, Ruthie started crying.
Mama? Mama, get up. People are looking.
Emma's voice, 14 years old and trying so hard to sound strong. Clara couldn't move. Her legs had stopped working. Her pride had finally broken. This was it. This was how the Whitmore family would end, starving in the streets of a town that didn't want them.
Mama!
Sam grabbed her arm and pulled.
Mama, get up! Now!
His voice cracked. 12 years old and terrified but refusing to show it. Clara forced herself to stand. Her knees shook, her vision blurred.
I'm all right, babies. Mama's all right.
She wasn't all right. She was dying inside.
Mama, I'm so hungry.
Ben tugged her skirt. 6 years old, ribs showing through his thin shirt.
My belly hurts real bad. I know, baby, I know. Can we eat soon?
Clara had no answer. She had 37 cents. That wouldn't buy enough bread for 1 child, let alone 5. Lily pressed her face against Clara's hip, clutching her rag doll, Rosie. 9 years old and silent. She'd stopped talking 2 days ago when the last of their food ran out. And Ruthie, 3 years old, too weak to walk anymore. Clara had carried her for the last mile into town.
What do we do now, Mama?
Emma whispered. Clara looked around Cedar Hollow. The general store, the bank, the saloon. Respectable citizens walking past, avoiding eye contact. Nobody would help them. Nobody cared if 5 children starved to death.
Mama, look!
Ben pointed at the ground near the baker's shop. A crust of bread, half eaten, dropped by some careless customer. Before Clara could stop him, Ben ran. He grabbed the bread from the dirt and shoved it in his mouth.
Ben, no! It's still good, Mama!
His voice was muffled, cheeks stuffed full.
It's still soft inside.
Clara's heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. Her son, her beautiful boy, eating garbage from the street like a stray dog. She walked over slowly, knelt beside him.
Ben, sweetheart. There's more, Mama. Look.
He pointed to a rotting apple core near the horse trough.
Can I have that too?
Clara pulled him into her arms and held him so tight he squeaked.
Mama, you're squishing me. I know, baby. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
She was crying now. She couldn't stop it. Couldn't hold it back anymore.
Mama, why are you crying? I found food. Aren't you happy?
I'm happy, sweetheart. Mama's so happy. She wasn't happy. She was broken. Well, well, the Kansas widow. Clara's blood turned to ice. She knew that voice. Had heard it twice already since arriving in Cedar Hollow 5 days ago. Victor Crane stepped out of the bank's shadow like a snake emerging from its hole. Expensive suit, gold watch chain, cold eyes that slid over her like she was livestock at auction. Mr. Crane. Mrs. Whitmore. He tipped his hat, but his gaze had already moved to Emma, lingered there too long. You look troubled. Clara pulled Ben behind her, shifted to block Emma from his view. We're fine. You don't look fine. You look desperate. He smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. I told you I have work for you. Good work. Roof over your head. Food for those children. And I told you no. That was before you were begging on your knees in front of the whole town. He stepped closer. His cologne was too strong, covering something sour underneath. Before your boy was eating trash from the street. Ben peeked out from behind Clara. Mama, who is this man? I don't like him. Hush, Ben. Smart boy. Crane crouched down, bringing himself to Ben's level. You know what's good and what's bad, don't you, son? Don't talk to my son. Crane stood slowly. His smile widened. Mrs. Whitmore, let me be plain. I'm offering you a position at my ranch. Housekeeper. Private quarters. You and the children would want for nothing. What kind of housekeeper lives in private quarters with her employer? The kind who understands how the world works. His voice dropped lower. You're a beautiful woman, Clara. May I call you Clara? Those children need a father. I could be very good to all of you. Clara's stomach heaved. I would rather die. Something flickered in Crane's eyes. Something dangerous. Be careful what you wish for. He glanced at the children. Summer won't last forever. When fall comes, when the cold nights set in, those young ones will suffer. Children get sick easy. Children die easy. Lily started crying softly. You're scaring my daughter. I'm telling her the truth. Crane leaned in. His breath was hot on Clara's face. I'm the only one in this town offering you anything. My patience has limits, Mrs. Whitmore. Don't test them. Get away from her. The voice came from behind, deep, calm, carrying iron underneath. Crane's expression shifted. Just for a moment, something like caution crossed his face. This ain't your concern, Callahan. Lady said no, 3 times now. You deaf or just don't care? Clara turned. The man was tall, well over 6 feet, shoulders straining against a worn leather vest. Dark hair curled under a black Stetson that had seen years of sun and rain. His jaw was rough with stubble, and his eyes, gray-blue like storm clouds, were fixed on Crane with barely contained anger. A tin star glinted on his vest. Deputy. I'm having a private conversation, Crane said. Ain't nothing private about threatening a woman and her children in broad daylight. The deputy, Callahan, stepped forward. He moved easy, balanced, like a man who knew how to fight. Walk away, Crane. Or what? Or I'll make you walk away, and you won't enjoy how I do it. The 2 men stared at each other. The whole street had gone quiet. Even the horses seemed to hold their breath. Clara watched Crane's hands. Thomas used to get that same tension in his shoulders before he threw a punch. But Crane didn't swing. He smiled instead. This ain't over, Callahan. He looked at Clara. And you, Mrs. Whitmore, will come to me before summer ends. You'll come crawling, and when you do, my terms will be much less generous. He walked away. His boots clicked against the wooden sidewalk like a countdown. Clara released a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Thank you, she said to the deputy. But I didn't need... I know you didn't need saving, ma'am. Something flickered in those gray-blue eyes. Respect. But Crane don't hear no from anybody. Figured you could use a witness. A witness? In case he tries something later. Now there's a dozen people who saw him threaten you. He nodded toward the watching townspeople. Makes it harder for him to claim otherwise. Clara hadn't thought of that. She'd been too scared to think at all. Smart. Practical. He removed his hat. Name's Josiah Callahan. Most folks call me Joe.
Clara Whitmore.
I know who you are, ma'am. Word travels fast in a small town.
Clara stiffened. Then you know nobody wants us here.
I know what people are saying. Don't mean I believe it.
Mister?
Ben tugged on Callahan's vest.
Mister, are you a real cowboy? Ben, Clara pulled him back. Don't bother the man.
But Callahan crouched down, bringing himself to eye level with her son. His whole demeanor changed, softened. I am, partner. Got a ranch about 5 miles north. Horses, cattle, the whole thing. Ben's eyes went wide.
Real horses?
Real horses. Got one named Biscuit. Friendliest horse you ever met. He'd like you, I think.
I like horses.
Ben's voice dropped.
Papa never let me ride.
Said I was too small and too stupid. Clara's heart clenched. Thomas's words coming out of their son's mouth. Something dark crossed Callahan's face. His jaw tightened. Well, Ben, I think you're exactly the right size. And I don't think you're stupid at all. Ben beamed. It was the first real smile Clara had seen since Kansas.
Mama, can I see his horses? Can I, please? Ben, we don't even...
Ma'am. Callahan stood. His voice was careful now, like he was approaching a spooked animal. I know this is forward. I know you don't know me. But I got a proposition for you. Clara's guard went up instantly. What kind of proposition? The honest kind. He held up his hands. I need a housekeeper. A real one. My ranch house ain't been properly cleaned in 2 years, and I can't cook worth a damn. I'm offering work, not what Crane was offering. And why would you offer work to a stranger? Because I got eyes, Mrs. Whitmore. His voice was quiet but firm. I see 5 children who ain't eaten properly in days. I see a mother who just begged on her knees and got spit on for it. And I see a town full of people who could help but won't. He paused. His jaw worked like he was chewing on words he didn't want to say. I ain't them. I ain't Crane. I'm just a man with too much space and not enough help. Clara studied him. Looked for the lie. Looked for the trap. She couldn't find it. But that didn't mean it wasn't there. Separate quarters? There's a cabin behind the main house. 2 rooms, fireplace, its own entrance. You and the children would have complete privacy. I wouldn't set foot inside unless you invited me. And my duties? Cooking, cleaning, managing the house. Nothing else. I need you to understand that, ma'am. Nothing else. Emma tugged Clara's sleeve.
Mama, he seems kind.
Hush, Emma.
But Mama...
I said hush. Sam stepped forward. 12 years old, fists clenched, trying to look bigger than he was. We don't know this man. Could be worse than Crane. Could be tricking us. Callahan looked at Sam with something like approval. You're right not to trust me, son. A man should be suspicious when someone offers something for nothing. I ain't your son. No, you ain't. But you're protecting your family, and that's exactly what you should be doing. Callahan nodded slowly. I respect that. I do. Sam's jaw tightened. He didn't respond, but some of the hostility left his shoulders. Clara's mind was racing. This was dangerous, foolish. She didn't know this man from Adam. But Ben was eating garbage. Lily had stopped talking. Ruthie was getting weaker by the hour. What choice did she have? 1 month, she said. Trial period. Anything makes me uncomfortable. We leave. No questions asked. Agreed. And the children stay with me at all times. They don't work. If there's a school nearby, they attend. There's a schoolhouse 3 miles down the road. Miss Patterson runs it. Good woman. Fair. And my wages? $20 a month, plus room and board for all of you. $20. It was more than fair. It was generous. Too generous. Why? Clara demanded. Why are you really doing this? Callahan was quiet for a long moment. The street noise faded. It was just them, standing in the dust and heat. Got my reasons, ma'am. His voice was rough, guarded. Ain't ready to share them yet. Maybe someday, if you decide to stay. It wasn't an answer, but somehow it was more honest than any explanation he could have given. Clara made her decision. When do we start? Relief flooded his face. Not triumph, not satisfaction, just relief. Right now, if you're willing. My wagon's at the livery. We can get you settled before supper. Clara nodded once. Sharp, final. Let's go then, Mr. Callahan, before I come to my senses. The preacher's wife caught Clara's arm as they passed the church. Mrs. Whitmore. Her voice was barely a whisper. Her eyes darted around, checking who was watching. I'm so sorry. I wanted to help. I begged my husband to take you in. But Mr. Crane, he owns the mortgage on our church. If we offered you shelter, he'd... I understand. No, you don't. The woman's eyes filled with tears. This town wasn't always like this. Before Crane's family took over the bank, we helped each other. We were good people. She pressed something into Clara's hand, a biscuit, still warm. For the children, it's all I could manage without him noticing. She squeezed Clara's fingers. God forgive us. God forgive this whole town. Then she was gone, hurrying back into the church like she'd never spoken at all. Clara looked at the biscuit. Such a small thing, but someone had risked something to give it. She broke it into 5 pieces. Here, babies, 1 bite each. They devoured it like wolves. Callahan's wagon was sturdy, with a canvas cover that would provide shade from the afternoon sun. He lifted Ruthie first, settling her gently on a pile of blankets. She's burning up, he said quietly to Clara. How long has she had fever? Clara's blood went cold. What? Her forehead's hot. She's flushed. Clara climbed up and pressed her hand to Ruthie's face. He was right. She hadn't noticed. God help her, she'd been so focused on food and shelter, she hadn't noticed her baby was sick. I didn't. It's all right, ma'am. I got medicine at the ranch. Fever powder. Works quick on little ones. Callahan's voice was calm, steady. We need to get her home and cool down. Can you keep her comfortable while I drive? Home. He'd said home. Clara nodded, not trusting her voice. One by one, the other children climbed into the wagon. Sam refused help, pulling himself up with grim determination. Lily clutched Rosie and curled into a corner. Ben kept twisting around to look at the horses pulling the wagon. Emma sat beside Clara, watching everything with suspicious eyes. Mama, she whispered, are we safe? Clara looked at Callahan's broad back as he guided the horses out of town. She looked at Ruthie's flushed face. She looked at her other children, hungry and scared, but alive. I don't know, baby, but we're better than we were this morning. It wasn't much comfort. It was all she had. The road north wound through grassland dotted with wildflowers. In other circumstances, Clara might have found it beautiful. Now she could only watch Ruthie's chest rise and fall, counting each breath like a prayer. Mr. Callahan? Joe, ma'am. Please. Joe. The name felt strange on her tongue. Too familiar. How far to your ranch? About an hour at this pace. I'd push the horses faster, but the road gets rough ahead. An hour. Ruthie could get a lot worse in an hour. The fever powder you mentioned. You've used it before? On children? Yes, ma'am. His voice was quiet. I had a little sister once, Sarah. She used to get fevers every summer. I learned real quick how to bring them down. Had. Used to. Clara didn't ask what happened to Sarah. She didn't need to. I'm sorry. It was a long time ago. He didn't turn around. She would have been 23 this year. Same age as my fiancé was when she... He stopped, shook his head. Anyway, point is, I know how to handle a sick child. Ruthie's gonna be fine. Clara wanted to believe him, needed to believe him. Ruthie stirred, whimpering softly. Mama? Mama, I'm cold. Cold, in this heat. I know, baby. We're almost there. Clara pulled her closer, trying to share body heat. Just a little longer. I want to go home. Clara's throat closed. Home. Their farm in Kansas was gone, sold to pay Thomas's debts. They had no home anymore. We're going to a new home, sweetheart.
A nice man is letting us stay at his ranch. Is he a bad man like Papa?
The question hit Clara like a physical blow. Emma made a small sound. Sam's jaw tightened. Even Ben went still.
No, baby.
Clara stroked Ruthie's hair. He's not like Papa.
Promise?
Clara looked at Callahan's back again. At the way he handled the horses, firm but gentle. At the way he'd crouched down to talk to Ben as an equal. At the way he'd stepped between them and Crane without hesitation. I promise. She hoped to God she wasn't lying. The ranch appeared as the sun hung low in the western sky. Golden light painted everything honey-colored. The two-story house with its wide porch. The big red barn. The corrals full of horses. The fields stretching toward distant mountains. It ain't much, Callahan said. Clara stared. It's beautiful. My grandfather built the original cabin. I've been adding to it ever since. He guided the wagon toward the house. The place behind, see it there, with the blue door? That's the cabin I mentioned. I had my hand Tommy ride ahead to get it ready. Smoke curled from the small cabin's chimney. A welcoming sign.
Mama, look!
Ben was bouncing.
Look at all the horses.
I see them, baby.
Can I ride one? Mr. Joe said I could meet Biscuit.
Later, Ben. Ruthie's sick. We need to get her inside first. The wagon stopped in front of the main house. A young man, barely 18, with a friendly face and red hair, came running from the barn.
Mr. Callahan, I got the cabin all set up like you said. Fire's going, beds are made, and I put some stew on to warm.
Good man, Tommy. Callahan jumped down from the wagon seat. We got a sick little one. Run to the house and bring my medicine kit. The fever powder's in the blue tin.
Yes, sir.
Tommy sprinted toward the house. Callahan reached into the wagon and lifted Ruthie with extraordinary gentleness. Easy now, little one. We're going to get you feeling better real soon. Ruthie blinked up at him with glassy eyes.
Are you an angel?
Something cracked in Callahan's expression. Just for a second. No, sweetheart. Just a cowboy. He carried her toward the cabin. Clara followed close behind, the other children trailing like ducklings. The cabin was small, but perfect. One main room with a fireplace, a kitchen area with a real stove, a table with 6 chairs. A bedroom beyond held 2 beds, one large, one smaller. Clean sheets, warm fire, the smell of stew. Clara wanted to weep. Put her on the big bed. She pulled back the covers. I need to cool her down. There's a pump out back. I'll get cold water. He was gone before she could respond. Clara stripped off Ruthie's dress, leaving her in just her cotton undergarment. The little girl was burning up, skin dry and hot. Emma, find cloths. Anything we can soak in cold water.
Yes, Mama.
Sam, keep the other children calm. Yes, Mama. They moved without argument. Crisis had a way of focusing people. Callahan returned with a bucket of cold water. Tommy was right behind him with a leather medical kit. "The powder's in here." Callahan handed Clara a small blue tin. "Quarter teaspoon mixed with water. It tastes awful, but it works fast." Clara measured carefully, mixed it with water from a cup Tommy provided. Ruthie whimpered and tried to turn away.
"I know, baby. I know it's bad, but you have to drink it." "No, Mama." "Please, sweetheart, for Mama."
Ruthie drank, made a face, coughed.
"Good girl. Such a good girl."
They spent the next hour working. Clara applied cold cloths to Ruthie's forehead, neck, and wrists. Callahan kept bringing fresh water. Emma helped sponge her sister down. Sam kept Lily and Ben quiet in the main room. Finally, Ruthie's skin began to cool. "Fever's breaking." Clara pressed her cheek to Ruthie's forehead.
"Thank God. Thank God."
Ruthie's eyes fluttered open, clearer now.
"Mama, I'm hungry."
Clara laughed through her tears.
"Then we'll get you something to eat, baby. We'll get you whatever you want."
Later, after all 5 children had eaten their fill of stew and fresh bread, after Ruthie had fallen asleep in the big bed with Lily curled beside her, after Sam had grudgingly admitted the cabin was acceptable, and Ben had finally stopped talking about horses long enough to close his eyes, Clara sat by the window and watched the stars come out. Emma sat beside her.
"He's not what I expected, Mama."
"Who?"
"Mr. Callahan."
Emma stared at her hands.
"When he was helping with Ruthie,
He looked scared. Really scared. Like he actually cared if she lived or died. Clara had noticed that too. Maybe he did care. Why would he? He doesn't know us."
"I don't know, baby."
Emma was quiet for a moment. Then,
"Do you think we're safe here?"
Clara looked around the cabin, at her children, sleeping peacefully for the first time in weeks, at the fire crackling in the hearth, at the full pot of stew still warming on the stove.
"I think we're safer than we've been in a long time."
"That's not the same as safe."
"No, it's not."
Emma leaned her head on Clara's shoulder. 14 years old and too wise for her age.
"I want to trust him, Mama. I want to believe he's good."
"Me too, baby. Me too." Clara was almost asleep when she heard it. Hoofbeats, slow, deliberate, coming up the road toward the ranch. She went to the window, heart pounding. Moonlight illuminated a rider on a dark horse. He'd stopped at the edge of the property, just outside the fence line, just sitting there, watching. Clara couldn't see his face, but something about the way he sat, straight-backed, arrogant, patient, made her blood run cold. After a long moment, the rider turned his horse and rode back toward town. Clara didn't sleep that night. She sat by the window with her children's steady breathing behind her and watched the road until dawn. And in the morning, when Callahan came to check on them with fresh eggs and warm biscuits, she didn't tell him what she'd seen. Not yet. Not until she knew whether the danger was real, or whether it was already too late. The rooster crowed at dawn, and Clara was already awake. She hadn't slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw that rider in the moonlight, watching, waiting. Ruthie stirred beside her. The fever had broken completely during the night. Her forehead was cool now, her breathing steady. Thank God for small mercies. Clara eased out of bed, careful not to wake the children. She needed coffee. She needed to think. The cabin's main room was cold, the fire burned down to embers. Clara added kindling, coaxed the flames back to life. Her hands moved automatically while her mind raced. Who was the rider? Crane? One of his men? And why had he just watched? Why hadn't he done anything? A knock at the door made her jump. "Mrs. Whitmore, it's Joe Callahan. I brought breakfast." Clara smoothed her hair, straightened her dress. She'd slept in her clothes. There hadn't been any other option. She opened the door. Callahan stood on the small porch holding a basket covered with a checkered cloth. Steam rose from beneath it, carrying the smell of fresh biscuits and bacon. "Morning, ma'am. How's the little one?"
Better. The fever broke around midnight.
"That's good news." He held out the basket. "Tommy's wife made these. She heard you had young ones and wanted to help." Clara took the basket. It was heavy. More food than she'd seen in weeks.
Tommy has a wife?
Sarah. They live in a cottage on the east side of the property. She's shy, but kind. You'll meet her today, I expect. Sarah. The same name as his dead sister. Clara filed that away. Didn't comment on it. "Thank you for the food, Mr. Callahan." Joe. "Mr. Callahan." She kept her voice firm. "I think it's best we maintain some formality, given the circumstances." Something flickered in his eyes. Disappointment? Respect? She couldn't tell. "As you wish, ma'am." He stepped back from the door. "When you're ready, I'll show you around the house. No rush. Let the children eat first." He tipped his hat and walked away. Clara watched him go. Watched the easy way he moved, the confidence in his stride. She wanted to trust him. God help her, she wanted to. But that rider in the moonlight was still burned into her memory. The children woke to the smell of bacon. Ben came running out of the bedroom so fast he nearly tripped over his own feet.
Food! Mama, is that real bacon?
"It's real, baby."
Can I have some? Can I have a lot?
"You can have as much as you want." His eyes went wide.
Really? As much as I want?
Clara's heart cracked a little more. When had her son learned to expect hunger? When had "as much as you want" become a miracle? She unpacked the basket. Biscuits still warm. Thick slices of bacon. A jar of strawberry preserves. 6 hard-boiled eggs. 6. Someone had counted. Emma helped Ruthie to the table. The little girl was weak but alert, her eyes clear.
Mama, I'm hungry.
"I know, sweetheart. Sit down. Mama's going to fix you a plate." Sam came out last, his hair sticking up in every direction. He surveyed the food with suspicious eyes. "Where'd this come from?" "Mr. Callahan brought it. His ranch hand's wife made it." "Why?" "Because people can be kind, Sam." Clara kept her voice gentle. "I know you don't remember much kindness, but it exists. Papa said kindness is weakness. Papa was wrong about a lot of things." Sam went quiet. He sat down at the table and ate without another word. After breakfast, Clara dressed Ruthie in her cleanest clothes and instructed Emma to watch the younger children. "I need to see the main house. Learn my duties."
Can I come?
Ben bounced on his toes.
Mr. Joe said I could meet Biscuit.
"Not yet. Maybe later."
But Mama...
"Later, Ben. I promise." His face fell, but he didn't argue. Clara stepped outside. The morning sun was already warm, promising another hot day. The ranch spread out before her, bigger than it had seemed last night. The main house was 100 feet away. 2 stories, white-painted wood, a wraparound porch with rocking chairs. Flowers grew in boxes beneath the windows. Someone had cared about this place once. Callahan was waiting on the porch. "Ready for the tour, ma'am?"
Ready.
He led her inside. The house was a mess. Not dirty exactly, just neglected. Dust covered every surface. Dishes were stacked in the kitchen sink. Clothes lay draped over chairs, waiting to be washed or mended. "I told you I wasn't much of a housekeeper," Callahan said. He sounded almost embarrassed. "This isn't bad housekeeping, Mr. Callahan. This is a man who gave up." He flinched. She'd hit a nerve. "That's fair," he said quietly. "I did give up. For a while." Clara wanted to ask why, wanted to know what had broken this strong man so thoroughly that he'd let his home fall apart around him. But that wasn't her business. Her business was getting paid and keeping her children safe. Where should I start? Kitchen, maybe? I haven't had a proper cooked meal in months. Been living on beans and jerky. Then I'll start with the kitchen. She spent the morning scrubbing, washing dishes, wiping down counters, organizing the pantry. The physical work felt good. It kept her hands busy while her mind sorted through everything. Callahan came and went, checking on her progress, asking if she needed anything. Each time, he kept a respectful distance, never came too close, never lingered too long. Around noon, there was a knock at the back door. Clara opened it to find a young woman about 20 years old holding a pie. "Mrs. Whitmore? I'm Sarah, Tommy's wife." She had a soft voice and kind brown eyes. "I heard you had little ones. I made this for them. Apple pie. Kids like apple pie, don't they?" Clara took the pie. It was warm, the crust golden brown. "This is very kind of you, Sarah." "It's nothing. I know what it's like to be new somewhere." Sarah glanced around nervously. "I should go. Tommy doesn't like me wandering far." Is he good to you?" Sarah looked surprised by the question. Then she smiled. "Tommy's wonderful. Best man I ever knew, except for Mr. Callahan." Her smile faded slightly. "We worry about him, you know, Mr. Callahan. He's been alone too long. It's not good for a man to be alone." Before Clara could respond, Sarah was gone, hurrying back across the property toward her cottage. Clara stood in the doorway, holding the pie, thinking about loneliness. She knew about that. Thomas had made sure she understood exactly how alone a woman could be, even in a marriage. At midday, Clara brought lunch to the cabin. The children fell on the food like they hadn't eaten breakfast hours ago. "Slow down," she warned. "You'll make yourself sick." "Mama, when can I see the horses?" Ben asked around a mouthful of bread. "Don't talk with your mouth full." He swallowed dramatically. "Mama, when can I see the horses?" "Ask Mr. Callahan, politely." "Where is he?" "In the barn, I think." Ben was out the door before Clara could stop him. "Ben! Benjamin Thomas Whitmore!" But he was already running across the yard, legs pumping, heading straight for the big red barn. Clara sighed. "Emma, watch the others. I need to make sure your brother doesn't get himself killed." She found Ben in the barn, standing in front of a stall where a gentle-looking brown horse was stretching its neck toward him. Callahan was there too, watching with an amused expression. "This is Biscuit," Ben announced. "Mr. Joe says he's the friendliest horse on the whole ranch." "Ben, you can't just run off like that." "But Mama, look at him. He's so beautiful." The horse did seem friendly. It was nuzzling Ben's hand, looking for treats. "He likes you," Callahan said. "Biscuit doesn't like everyone. You should feel honored." Ben's whole face lit up. "Really? He likes me? Mama, did you hear? Biscuit likes me." "I heard, baby." Callahan reached into his pocket and pulled out a sugar cube. "Want to give him a treat?" Ben looked at Clara with pleading eyes. "Go ahead." Ben took the sugar cube and held it out on his flat palm, just like Callahan showed him. Biscuit lipped it up gently, and Ben giggled. "That tickles." Clara watched her son laugh. Really laugh, full and free. When was the last time she'd heard that sound? "Thank you," she said quietly to Callahan. "He needed this." Every boy needs a horse to love. I learned that from my father. Only good thing he ever taught me. There was pain in those words. Old pain, scarred over but not healed. Clara understood that too. "Your father was difficult?" "My father was a drunk and a coward." Callahan's voice was flat. "After my mother died, he stopped being a man. Stopped being anything. Left me and my sister to fend for ourselves while he crawled into a bottle. I'm sorry. Don't be. It was a long time ago. He watched Ben pet the horse. I promised myself I'd never be like him. Never let people down when they needed me. Clara filed this away, too, adding it to the picture she was building of this complicated man.
Mr. Callahan, can I ask you something?
Anything.
Last night, around midnight, there was a rider at the edge of your property, just sitting there, watching.
Callahan went very still. What did he look like?
I couldn't see his face, but the way he sat his horse, arrogant, patient, like he had all the time in the world.
A muscle twitched in Callahan's jaw. Crane.
You're sure?
He's been doing that for months. Ever since I refused to sell him my water right. Callahan's hands clenched into fists. He wants this land. Thinks if he can scare me enough, pressure me enough, I'll give in. Will you? This ranch belonged to my grandfather, then my father, now me. I'll die before I let Victor Crane take it. The intensity in his voice made Clara shiver. He mentioned you yesterday, in town. Said his family built Cedar Hollow. His grandfather built a bank. That's not the same as building a town. Callahan spat into the straw. The Cranes have been bleeding this territory dry for 30 years, buying up land, foreclosing on farms, running out anyone who won't bow to them. Then why haven't people fought back? Because fighting back means losing everything. Crane owns the bank, the general store, half the businesses in town. Cross him, and suddenly your loans get called in. Your credit disappears. Your neighbors stop talking to you. Clara thought about the preacher's wife, whispering apologies and slipping her a single biscuit. That's why no one would help us. That's why. Callahan looked at her. You understand what you've gotten yourself into? Being here, working for me, it makes you my ally in his eyes. He won't forget that.
I understood when I got in your wagon.
Did you?
Mr. Callahan, I've survived worse than Victor Crane.
Clara's voice was steady.
My husband drank away our farm,
Left me with 5 children and more debts than I could count. I've been spat on, turned away, treated like dirt for months. If you think some rich man on a horse is going to scare me, you don't know me at all. Something shifted in Callahan's expression. The concern didn't disappear, but something else joined it. Admiration. No, ma'am, I reckon I don't know you, but I'm starting to think I'd like to. Clara felt heat rise to her cheeks. She looked away, suddenly uncomfortable.
Ben, it's time to go back. But Mama... Now, Ben.
The boy said goodbye to Biscuit with obvious reluctance, promising to come back tomorrow. As Clara walked back to the cabin with her son chattering happily beside her, she felt Callahan's eyes on her back. She didn't turn around. The next few days settled into a rhythm. Clara woke at dawn, got the children fed and dressed, then walked to the main house to begin her work. The older children attended school. Miss Patterson had welcomed them warmly, while Ruthie and Ben stayed at the cabin. Ruthie was still recovering, too weak for the long walk to the schoolhouse, and Ben was too young, though he protested loudly about being left behind.
I can learn, he insisted. I'm smart. I know you're smart, baby. Next year.
The work was hard but satisfying. Clara scrubbed years of neglect from the house, room by room. She cooked meals that made Callahan close his eyes and groan with pleasure.
This is the best food I've had since my mother was alive, he said one evening. It's just fried chicken.
It's heaven, ma'am. Pure heaven. She tried not to feel pleased by his praise, tried not to notice the way his smile transformed his face. On the 4th day, Emma came home from school with tears streaming down her face.
Mama!
Clara dropped the pot she was scrubbing.
What happened? Are you hurt? The other girls.
Emma choked on a sob.
They said we're charity cases. Said Mr. Callahan only took us in because he felt sorry for us. Said everyone knows our father was a drunk and we're no better than beggars.
Clara pulled her daughter into her arms.
Who said these things? Mary Crane and her friends?
Crane, of course. Mary Crane is a bully whose father taught her that money makes her better than other people. She's wrong.
But Mama, everyone was laughing. Even the teacher didn't stop them.
Clara felt rage building in her chest. Her daughter, her sweet, hard-working daughter, humiliated by a child. Where are Sam and Lily?
Sam stayed. He said he wasn't going to run. Lily's outside. She won't stop crying.
Clara found Lily huddled behind the cabin, clutching Rosie and sobbing.
They called me dirty, Lily whispered. They said my dress was ugly and I smelled bad.
Clara gathered both her girls and held them while they cried. When the tears finally stopped, she dried their faces and looked them in the eyes. Listen to me, both of you. What those girls said was cruel and wrong, but it says more about them than it does about you.
But everyone believes it, Emma said.
Do you believe it?
No, but...
Do I believe it?
No.
Does Mr. Callahan believe it? Emma hesitated.
I don't know.
Then let's ask him. Callahan was in the barn when Clara found him. She told him what had happened, watching his face carefully. His expression went from confused to angry to something she couldn't quite name. Where are the girls?
In the cabin.
He strode past her without another word. Clara followed, curious and slightly worried. Callahan knocked on the cabin door. Emma answered, her eyes red and swollen.
Mr. Callahan?
Miss Emma, Miss Lily.
May I come in?
He sat at the table across from the two girls. Clara stood by the fireplace, watching. I heard what happened at school today, he said. I want you to know something, both of you. He leaned forward, his voice serious but gentle. Your father's mistakes are not your mistakes. What he did, how he lived, that's on him, not on you. You are not defined by where you came from or what other people think of you. You're defined by what you do, how you treat people, who you choose to be. Emma stared at him.
Do you really believe that?
I know it. Because I used to be ashamed of my father, too. He was a drunk, just like yours. Worse, probably. For years I thought his weakness was my weakness, that I was doomed to be just like him. What changed? I decided to be different. I built this ranch. I helped people when I could. I proved, to myself and everyone else, that I wasn't my father. He reached across the table and gently touched Emma's hand. You can do the same thing. Both of you can. Lily sniffled.
But the other girls...
The other girls are children who've been taught to be cruel. You can be better than them. You can show them what real strength looks like.
How?
By being kind even when they're not. By working hard even when they laugh. By never, ever letting them see you break. He smiled slightly. And by remembering that you have people who believe in you. Your mama, your brothers and sister.
Me? You?
Emma looked surprised.
You believe in us?
I do. I've watched your mama work harder than any person I've ever hired. I've seen how you take care of your siblings, how Lily comforts the little ones, how Sam protects his family. He nodded firmly. The Whitmore family has more strength in its smallest member than the Cranes have in their entire fortune. Clara felt tears prick her eyes. She blinked them away. Emma looked at Lily. Lily looked back. Something passed between them.
Okay,
Emma said.
Okay, we'll try.
That's all anyone can ask. Callahan stood. Now, I believe there's pie in the kitchen that Sarah made. What do you say we have some before supper? For the first time since coming home, Lily smiled. That night, after the children were asleep, Clara sat on the cabin's small porch and watched the stars. The door to the main house opened. Callahan stepped out and walked toward her. "Mind if I join you?" Clara gestured to the empty chair beside her. He sat, leaving a respectful distance between them. For a while, neither spoke. The night sounds filled the silence. Crickets, an owl somewhere in the distance, the soft lowing of cattle. "Thank you," Clara finally said, "for what you said to the girls." "I meant every word." "I know. That's what makes it matter." More silence. Comfortable now. "Can I ask you something?" Callahan's voice was quiet. "You can ask." "I might not answer." "Fair enough." He took a breath. "Your husband, did he hurt you? Not just the drinking, I mean, did he hit me?" Callahan nodded. Clara was quiet for a long moment. The question didn't surprise her. She'd seen the way he watched her, noticed how she flinched at sudden movements, kept her back to walls. "Once," she said finally. "Just once. I was 7 months pregnant with Ruthie. He came home drunk, angry about something I've forgotten. I said the wrong thing. He hit me so hard I saw stars." Callahan's hands clenched on the arms of his chair. "What did you do?" "I picked up his rifle, pointed it at his chest, told him if he ever touched me again, I'd kill him in his sleep." "Did he believe you?" "He never touched me again." Clara's voice was flat. "He found other ways to hurt me. Neglect, cruel words, drinking away every cent we had. But he never raised his hand again." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. I survived. My children survived. That's more than a lot of women can say." Callahan was quiet. Then, "My mother wasn't so lucky." Clara looked at him. "My father beat her for years. I was too young to stop it. Too small. She used to hide me in the root cellar when he came home drunk, so I wouldn't see." His voice cracked. "The night she died, the fever had already taken hold. She was delirious, kept calling for me, saying she was sorry she couldn't protect me better. That's why you helped us." "That's part of it." He turned to face her. In the moonlight, his gray-blue eyes were silver. "When I saw you on your knees in front of that boarding house, I saw my mother. Saw what she might have become if she'd ever found the courage to leave." Clara's chest ached. "I'm not your mother." "No, you're stronger than she ever was." He said it like a fact, not a compliment. "You got out. You kept your children alive. You didn't give up." "I almost did. When Crane offered." "But you didn't. That's what matters." They sat in silence again. The night wind carried the smell of grass and horses. "I should go inside," Clara said. "It's late." "Of course." Callahan stood. "Good night, Mrs. Whitmore." "Good night, Mr. Callahan." She was at the door when his voice stopped her. "Clara." She turned. "My name is Clara. You can use it. Just not in front of the children." Something soft crossed his face. "Good night, Clara." "Good night, Joe." She went inside and closed the door, leaned against it, heart pounding. What was she doing? She couldn't afford feelings, couldn't afford attachment. Not here, not now, not with this man. But when she finally fell asleep, she dreamed of gray-blue eyes and gentle hands. And she didn't dream of Thomas at all. The peace lasted exactly 8 more days. On a Wednesday morning, Clara was beating rugs on the main house porch when a rider came up the road. It wasn't Crane. This man was younger, rougher, with a mean look in his eyes. He stopped at the porch steps. "You the widow?" Clara's grip tightened on the rug beater. "Who's asking?" "Name's Dale Hoskins. I work for Mr. Crane.
Then you can ride right back where you came from.
Hoskins grinned. It wasn't friendly. Got a message for you. Mr. Crane says to tell you his offer still stands. Housekeeper position at his ranch. Says you should think about it careful.
I've thought about it.
The answer is no. See, that's what I told him you'd say. Hoskins leaned forward in his saddle. He also said to mention that accidents happen on ranches, especially to children. Horses spook. Tools go missing. Wells get poisoned. Clara's blood turned to ice. Get off this property. I'm just delivering a message, ma'am.
And I'm just telling you to leave before I get Mr. Callahan's rifle.
What's going on here? Joe's voice came from behind her. Clara didn't turn, didn't take her eyes off Hoskins. This man was just delivering threats from Victor Crane. Joe walked down the porch steps until he was standing between Clara and the rider. His hand rested casually on the pistol at his hip. That true, Dale? Just passing along information, Callahan. No need to get hostile. Information about accidents happening to children sounds like a threat to me. Take it however you want. Hoskins gathered his reins. Point is, mister, Crane wants what he wants. Always gets it, too. Might want to remember that. He rode away. Joe watched until he disappeared around the bend in the road. Then he turned to Clara. Are you all right?
He threatened my children.
Her voice shook with rage.
He stood there and threatened my children.
Clara. No. No. She was pacing now, rug beater still clenched in her hands.
I will not let that man hurt my babies. I will not. I'll kill him first.
Clara. Joe caught her arms, gently but firmly, stopping her movement. Look at me. She looked. I won't let anyone hurt your children. Do you understand? Not Crane, not his men, not anyone.
You can't promise that.
I can, and I am. His voice was steel wrapped in velvet. This is my land, my home. And while you're here, it's your home too. I will protect it and everyone in it with my life, if necessary. Clara stared at him, saw the truth in his eyes.
Why?
The question came out broken. Why do you care so much? Joe was quiet for a moment. His hands still held her arms, warm through her sleeves. Because caring is what makes us human. Because letting innocent people suffer when you can help is cowardice. And because... He hesitated. Because you matter, Clara. You and those children. I don't know how it happened so fast, but you matter. Clara's heart was pounding. She could feel the heat of his hands, see the pulse jumping in his throat.
Joe.
The sound of small feet made them both jump back. Ben came running around the corner of the house.
Mama! Mama! Ruthie won't wake up! She's breathing funny, and she won't wake up!
All other thoughts vanished. Clara ran. Ruthie lay in the bed like a broken doll. Her breathing was shallow, ragged, each inhale a battle. Her skin had turned gray, her lips tinged with blue. Clara dropped to her knees beside the bed.
Ruthie! Ruthie, baby, wake up! Mama's here!
No response, not even a flutter of eyelashes. How long has she been like this? Joe was right behind her, his voice tight.
I don't know. I checked on her an hour ago. She was sleeping normal.
Clara pressed her hand to Ruthie's forehead. Cold. Too cold.
She was getting better. She was getting better.
Ben, run to the barn. Tell Tommy to ride for the doctor in town, fast as he can. Ben was crying, frozen in the doorway. Ben! Joe's voice cracked like a whip. Now! The boy ran. Clara was pulling back the blankets, checking Ruthie's body for signs of injury, illness, anything that would explain this.
Her fingernails are blue. Joe, her fingernails are blue.
Keep her warm. I'll get more blankets.
She's not feverish. She's cold. Why is she cold?
Joe returned with an armload of quilts. They piled them on Ruthie's small body, tucked them around her. "Talk to her," Joe said. "Keep talking. She needs to hear your voice."
"Ruthie, sweetheart, Mama's right here. You need to wake up now, baby. Can you do that for Mama? Can you open your eyes?"
Nothing. Emma burst through the door with Lily and Sam behind her. School must have let out early.
"Mama, what's wrong with Ruthie?" "Stay back, Emma. I need space." "But Mama, I said stay back."
The sharpness in Clara's voice made all three children freeze. Joe stepped in. "Emma, I need you to boil water. Sam, get more wood for the fire. Lily, find clean cloths."
"Can you do that?" They scattered, grateful for tasks.
Clara kept talking to Ruthie, kept stroking her hair, her face, her cold little hands.
"Remember when you were 2 and you tried to eat a grasshopper? You thought it was candy because it was green. Remember that, baby? You spit it out so fast and made the funniest face. Sam laughed so hard milk came out his nose."
Ruthie's eyelids flickered.
"That's it, sweetheart. That's it. Come back to Mama." Ma.
The voice was barely a whisper, thin as paper.
"I'm here, baby. I'm right here."
Ruthie's eyes opened, glassy, unfocused, but open.
"Mama, I feel funny. My tummy hurts." "Where does it hurt, sweetheart? Show Mama."
Ruthie's small hand moved to her stomach, low, on the right side. Clara's blood turned to ice.
"Joe."
He was beside her instantly.
"She's pointing to her belly, low right side."
Joe's face went white.
"That's where the appendix is." "I know what it is."
Clara's voice cracked. "My cousin died of a burst appendix. She was 8 years old. The doctor is 20 miles away. How long will Tommy take?"
3 hours there, 3 hours back. Maybe more if the doctor isn't home."
6 hours. Ruthie didn't have 6 hours. There has to be another way. Someone closer. Joe ran a hand through his hair. "There's a woman, lives about 5 miles east. They call her Granny Morton. She's not a real doctor, but she knows medicine. Herbs, poultices, things the old-timers used. Get her."
"Clara, she's—"
"Get her, now. I'll do whatever it takes, but I am not letting my daughter die." Joe grabbed his hat and ran. The next hour was the longest of Clara's life. She stayed by Ruthie's side, keeping her talking, keeping her conscious. The little girl drifted in and out, sometimes lucid, sometimes mumbling nonsense.
"Mama, am I dying?"
The question hit Clara like a physical blow.
"No, baby, you're not dying. Mama won't let you die."
Tommy Baker died. Mary Crane said he got sick and his mama couldn't save him.
"I'm not Tommy Baker's mama. I'm your mama, and I will never, ever let anything happen to you. Promise?"
Clara's throat closed. She couldn't promise, couldn't guarantee anything. But she looked into her daughter's frightened eyes and did the only thing she could.
"I promise, sweetheart. Mama promises."
Ruthie's hand found hers and squeezed weakly.
"Okay, Mama. I believe you."
Emma appeared with a cup of warm water. Should she drink something? "I don't know. I don't know if it will help or make it worse. Mama, you always know what to do." "Not this time, baby." Clara's voice broke. "Not this time." Sam stood in the doorway, his young face hard with the effort of not crying.
"Mama, is Ruthie going to die?"
"No."
"You don't know that."
"I said no, Samuel, and that's final." He stared at her for a long moment. Then he nodded once and went back to feeding the fire. Lily sat in the corner, clutching Rosie, rocking back and forth.
"Please don't die, Ruthie. Please don't die. Please don't die."
The whispered prayer filled the cabin like smoke. Ben crawled into Clara's lap, something he hadn't done in months.
Mama, I'm scared. I know, baby. Mama's scared too. Is being scared okay? Being scared is human, sweetheart. What matters is what we do when we're scared.
What do we do? Clara hugged him tight. We stay together. We hold on. We don't give up. Hoofbeats outside. Clara's heart leaped. The door opened and Joe entered, followed by the oldest woman Clara had ever seen. She was tiny, barely 5 feet tall, with white hair and skin like crumpled paper. But her eyes were sharp and bright, missing nothing. "This the child?"
Yes.
Clara stood, keeping hold of Ben.
Please, can you help her?
Granny Morton approached the bed. She pressed her hand to Ruthie's forehead, then her belly. When she touched the lower right side, Ruthie whimpered.
How long's she been like this?
I found her unresponsive about 2 hours ago. She had a fever last week, but it broke.
Fever broke, but the infection didn't.
Granny Morton opened her bag and pulled out various jars and pouches.
I've seen this before. The body fights off one sickness, leaves itself open to another.
Is it her appendix?
Likely.
The old woman's voice was matter-of-fact. Could also be her bowel. Won't know for certain without cutting her open, and I ain't about to do that. Then what can you do? Granny Morton looked at Clara with ancient eyes. I can try to draw out the infection. Herbs, poultices, prayers. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it don't. She paused. You need to understand, Mrs. Whitmore, this child is very sick. I'll do everything I can, but the Almighty may have other plans. Clara's knees went weak. Joe caught her elbow, steadied her.
Do whatever you can,
Clara whispered.
Please, I'll give you anything, everything I have.
I don't want your money. Granny Morton was already grinding herbs in a small mortar. I want you to keep talking to her. Keep her fighting. The body follows the spirit. If she gives up, no medicine in the world will save her. Clara nodded. For the next 3 hours, she talked. She told Ruthie stories about her own childhood, about the farm in Tennessee before the war, about her mother's garden, about the creek where she learned to swim. She told her about meeting Thomas, the handsome farmer who came to court her with wildflowers and promises. She left out the parts about how those promises turned to ash. She told her about the day each of her children was born. Emma, squalling and red-faced, furious at the world from her first breath. Sam, quiet and watchful, studying everything with serious eyes. Lily, who smiled before she could focus, as if she found the whole world delightful. Ben, who came fast and loud and had been running ever since. And Ruthie, sweet, tiny Ruthie, who was born in the middle of a thunderstorm and didn't cry at all, just looked up at Clara with wide eyes, as if to say, well, here I am. What happens next? What happens next is you grow up, Clara whispered. You grow up, and you get married, and you have babies of your own. You live, Ruthie. You hear me? You live. Granny Morton applied poultices to Ruthie's belly, made her drink bitter teas that smelled like dirt and grass, burned herbs that filled the cabin with strange, sharp smoke. The other children fell asleep one by one. Emma on the floor beside the bed, Sam in the corner, sitting up, as if standing guard even in sleep. Lily and Ben curled together like puppies, Rosie clutched between them. Joe stayed too. He didn't speak much, just kept the fire going, brought fresh water, did whatever Granny Morton asked. Around midnight, Ruthie's fever spiked. That's the fight, Granny Morton said. Her body's trying to burn out the infection. This is the turning point. What do we do? We wait, and we pray. Clara had never been much for prayer. Thomas had beaten religion out of her, one broken promise at a time. But she prayed now, silently, desperately, with everything she had. Please, please, I'll do anything. I'll give anything. Just don't take my baby. Please." Joe's hand found hers in the darkness. She didn't pull away. At 3 a.m., Ruthie's fever broke. Her breathing eased. Color returned to her cheeks. The blue faded from her lips and fingernails. Granny Morton checked her belly, pressed on the tender spot. Ruthie didn't whimper. "The swelling's going down. The infection's passing." The old woman sat back with a long sigh. "She's going to live." Clara collapsed. Joe caught her before she hit the floor, eased her into a chair. "Breathe, Clara. Just breathe." She was crying, laughing, both at the same time. Tears streaming down her face, gasping for air, overwhelmed by relief so intense it was almost painful. "She's going to live. She's going to live." "She is. You did it." "I didn't do anything. Granny Morton." "You kept her fighting." The old woman was packing her bag. "I told you, the body follows the spirit. You kept her spirit from giving up." Clara couldn't stop crying. Joe held her, just held her, letting her fall apart in his arms. "I've got you," he murmured. "I've got you. It's over. It's over." When Clara finally pulled herself together, dawn was breaking. Granny Morton was gone. She'd left instructions for Ruthie's care and refused any payment. "Buy something nice for that child," she'd told Joe. "Something to make her smile. That's payment enough." The other children woke slowly, confused by the sunlight and their strange sleeping positions. "Mama?" Emma sat up, fear flooding her face. "Ruthie?" "She's going to be fine, baby. She's going to be fine." Emma burst into tears. Sam tried to look stoic, but his chin was trembling. Lily threw herself at Clara, sobbing with relief. Ben climbed onto the bed and curled up next to his littlest sister. "I knew you wouldn't die," he told Ruthie's sleeping form. "I knew Mama would fix it." Joe stood in the doorway, watching the family reunion. Clara met his eyes across the room. "Thank you," she mouthed. He nodded once. Then he slipped outside, giving them privacy. Clara held her children and let the tears come. They were still alive. All of them. Still together. For now, that was enough. Ruthie recovered slowly over the next week. She was weak, tired easily, but her appetite returned and her color improved. Granny Morton came back twice to check on her, each time nodding with satisfaction at her progress. "Strong girl," she told Clara. "Gets it from her mama." The other children returned to school. Clara returned to work at the main house. Life found its rhythm again. But something had changed. Clara felt it in the way she looked at Joe, in the way her heart jumped when he entered a room, in the way she found herself thinking about him at odd moments throughout the day. She tried to push it away, told herself it was just gratitude, just relief, just the natural attachment anyone would feel toward the person who'd helped save their child. But it wasn't just that. It was more. Joe felt it too. She could see it in his eyes, in the careful way he maintained distance, in the way his voice softened when he spoke to her. Neither of them said anything. Neither of them acted on it. But the air between them was charged, waiting, electric. On the 10th day after Ruthie's illness, Clara was hanging laundry behind the main house when she heard hoofbeats, multiple horses, coming fast. She dropped the sheet she was holding and ran toward the cabin. Joe intercepted her halfway. "Get inside. Take the children to the root cellar." "What's happening?" "Crane's men. 6 of them." His jaw was tight. "Clara, go. Now!" She ran. The children were in the cabin, Ruthie in bed, Ben playing on the floor, Emma reading by the window. "Everyone, come with me. Now. Don't ask questions." Something in her voice made them obey instantly. The root cellar was beneath the main house. Clara had discovered it while cleaning. Dark, musty, but solid. Safe. She herded the children down the ladder, lit a lantern.
"Mama, what's happening?"
Emma's voice was high with fear. "Bad men are here. We're going to stay quiet until they leave."
"What about Mr. Joe?"
Ben asked. "Mr. Joe can take care of himself." She hoped she wasn't lying. From above, she heard voices, angry voices, then a crash, then shouting. The children huddled close to her in the darkness. Lily was crying silently. Ruthie, still weak, clung to Clara's dress. Sam had positioned himself near the ladder, fists clenched, ready to fight anyone who came down. My brave boy, Clara thought. My stupid, brave boy. The sounds above continued. More shouting. Another crash. Then a gunshot. The children screamed. "Shh! Quiet! Everyone quiet!" Clara's heart was pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. "Please, God, please, not again. Don't make me lose someone else." Footsteps above them. Heavy. Multiple people walking through the house. A voice she recognized. Dale Hoskins. "Callahan's down. Find the woman and the brats." Clara's world tilted. Joe was down. Shot. Maybe dead. No, this couldn't be happening. "They've got to be here somewhere. Check the barn. Check the cabin."
"What about the cellar?"
"What cellar?" "I saw a trap door in the kitchen, under that rug." Clara's blood turned to ice. They knew. They knew where she was. She looked at her children, at their terrified faces in the lamplight. She had no weapon, no way out, no way to protect them. The trap door rattled. "Locked from inside. Someone's down there." "Bust it open." Clara stood, positioned herself at the bottom of the ladder. "Children, get behind me, all the way against the wall."
"Mama,"
Emma started. "Do it!" They scrambled back. The trapdoor shook with impacts. Once. Twice. The lock wouldn't hold much longer. Clara picked up the only thing available, a heavy glass jar of preserved tomatoes. If they were going to take her children, they were going to have to go through her first. The lock broke. The trapdoor flew open. A man started down the ladder. Clara swung the jar with everything she had. It shattered against his head. He tumbled backward, cursing, blood streaming from his scalp. "She's fighting! The witch is fighting!" Another man started down. Clara grabbed a broken piece of the jar, sharp as a knife. "Stay back! I'll kill anyone who touches my children." "Lady, you ain't got a chance." "Maybe not, but I'll take at least one of you with me." The man hesitated. "Get down there!" Hoskins shouted from above. "It's one woman!" "You get down there! She's crazy!" Clara laughed. It sounded wild, even to her own ears. "I'm not crazy. I'm a mother. Now get out of my cellar before I start cutting." A long moment of silence. Then another voice. Calm. Cold. Familiar. "That's enough." Victor Crane. He appeared at the top of the ladder, looking down at Clara with those reptile eyes. "Mrs. Whitmore, I warned you this would happen." "You shot Joe." "Mr. Callahan is alive. Wounded, but alive. Whether he stays alive depends entirely on you." Clara's hand shook. The broken glass glinted in the lamplight. "What do you want?" "What I've always wanted. You. Working for me. Under my protection. I'd rather die." "That can be arranged." Crane's voice didn't change. "But I think you'd rather your children lived, wouldn't you?" Clara looked at her babies, at Emma's fierce face, Sam's clenched fists, Lily's tears, Ben's terror, Ruthie's weakness. They needed her, alive. She could fight, could probably take down one or two more men before they overwhelmed her. But then what? What would happen to her children? The broken glass fell from her fingers. "If I come with you, you let them go, all of them.
You don't touch a single hair on their heads." "Mama, no!" Emma screamed. "You don't touch Joe either. You leave this ranch alone." Crane smiled. It was the most terrifying thing Clara had ever seen. "You have my word." Clara knew his word was worthless, but it was all she had. "Then I'll come with you." She climbed the ladder on numb legs. At the top, Hoskins grabbed her arm roughly. "Not so tough now, are you?" Clara spat in his face. He raised his hand to hit her, but Crane stopped him. "Damaged goods are worth less. Remember that." They dragged her toward the door. Clara looked back once, saw her children climbing out of the cellar, saw Emma holding the others back, tears streaming down her face. "I love you," Clara called. "I love you all. Be brave." Then they shoved her through the door, and she couldn't see them anymore. Outside, Joe lay crumpled on the ground, blood soaking his shirt. He was alive, breathing. His eyes found hers. "Clara, no." "I'll be fine," she lied. "Take care of my children." "Clara!" They threw her onto a horse, tied her hands to the saddle horn. As they rode away, Clara looked back at the ranch that had almost become home, at the man who had almost become something more. Then the road turned, and they were gone. The rope cut into Clara's wrists with every jolt of the horse. She didn't feel it. All she could feel was the hollow ache where her heart used to be. Her children's faces burned behind her eyes. Emma's scream, Sam's clenched fists, Lily's tears, Ben's terror. Ruthie, still too weak to stand, watching her mother being dragged away. She had left them. She had left them to save them. Please, God, let it be enough. Crane rode beside her, silent, smug. His men surrounded them like wolves escorting prey. "You're making the right choice, Mrs. Whitmore." Clara didn't respond. "The silent treatment? That's fine. You'll learn to be more agreeable in time." "I'll never be agreeable to you." Crane smiled. "We'll see." The ride to Crane's ranch took 2 hours. Clara memorized every turn, every landmark, every detail that might help her escape. Because she would escape. She had to. Her children needed her. Crane's ranch was bigger than Joe's, grander. A massive white house with columns like a southern plantation, surrounded by smaller buildings and corrals full of cattle. It looked like money. It smelled like corruption. They pulled her off the horse and marched her inside. The interior was dark despite the summer sun. Heavy curtains blocking the windows, expensive furniture crowding every corner. A prison dressed up as a palace. "Take her to the east room," Crane ordered. "Make sure she's comfortable, but not too comfortable." They shoved Clara into a small bedroom on the second floor. The door locked behind her with a heavy click. Clara stood in the middle of the room, breathing hard. Think, think, you have to think. The window was barred. The door was solid oak. No furniture heavy enough to use as a battering ram. She was trapped. For now. Clara sat on the edge of the bed and forced herself to breathe slowly. Panic wouldn't help. Despair wouldn't help. She needed to be smart, patient, ready. Joe was alive. She'd seen him breathing. If she knew anything about that man, it was that he wouldn't give up. He'd come for her. She just had to survive until he did. Hours passed. The sun moved across the barred window. Shadows lengthened. No one came. Clara's mind kept circling back to her children. Were they safe? Had Crane kept his word? Was Joe getting medical attention? She didn't know. Couldn't know. The uncertainty was worse than any physical pain. Finally, as darkness fell, the door opened. Crane entered carrying a tray of food. "Dinner. You must be hungry."
Clara didn't move. I'm not going to poison you, Mrs. Whitmore. You're much more valuable to me alive. Valuable how? Crane set the tray on a small table. Roast chicken, fresh bread, a glass of wine. You're an intelligent woman. Surely you figured it out. You want to use me against Joe? Partly. Crane settled into a chair, crossing his legs. Callahan has been a thorn in my side for years, refusing to sell his water rights, blocking my access to the northern range, inspiring other small ranchers to resist me. So this is about land. Everything is about land, Mrs. Whitmore. Land and power. The two things that actually matter in this world. Clara stared at him, at his expensive clothes, his cold eyes, his absolute certainty that he could take whatever he wanted. You're pathetic. Crane's smile didn't waver. Am I? You have money, influence, more than most men could dream of, and it's not enough. You need to destroy everyone around you just to feel powerful. That's a fascinating analysis. My husband was the same way. He had a farm, a family, everything a man could want, and he drank it all away because he couldn't stand that I was stronger than him. For the first time, something flickered in Crane's eyes. Not anger exactly. Interest. You compared me to your husband. A drunk. A failure. If the boot fits. Crane stood slowly. He walked toward her until he was close enough to touch. Clara didn't flinch. You have spirit, Mrs. Whitmore. I appreciate that. It's going to make breaking you so much more satisfying. You won't break me. Everyone breaks eventually. He reached out and touched her face. His fingers were cold. Some people just take longer than others. Clara grabbed his wrist and twisted. Crane yelped, surprise flashing across his face. Touch me again, and I'll rip your arm off. She released him. He stumbled back, rubbing his wrist, staring at her with new eyes. You are something, aren't you? I'm a mother who's been through hell. There's nothing you can do to me that's worse than what I've already survived. Crane laughed. It sounded genuine, which made it worse. Oh, Mrs. Whitmore, I do believe we're going to have an interesting time together. He left. The door locked behind him. Clara let out a shaking breath. She'd made him angry. That was dangerous. But she'd also made him uncertain. That was useful. She looked at the food. Her stomach ached with hunger, but she didn't trust anything Crane gave her. She drank the water. She had to stay hydrated, but left everything else untouched. Then she lay down on the bed, fully clothed, and stared at the ceiling. Sleep wouldn't come. Not with her children out there somewhere. Not with Joe bleeding. Not with her future so uncertain. But she could rest, could conserve her strength. Because when the chance came, and it would come, she needed to be ready. The chance came sooner than she expected. 3 days into her captivity, one of Crane's maids brought her breakfast. The girl was young, maybe 16, with frightened eyes and shaking hands. Ma'am, your breakfast? Clara studied her, saw the bruise on her wrist, poorly hidden by her sleeve. Saw the way she flinched at every sound. What's your name? The girl looked startled. Ma'am? Your name, what is it? Molly, ma'am. How long have you worked here, Molly? 2 years, ma'am. The girl's voice dropped. Since my pa died and my ma couldn't pay the mortgage. Crane owns your mother's farm? Yes, ma'am. Clara felt rage building in her chest. Another family destroyed. Another life stolen. Molly, I need you to do something for me. Fear flooded the girl's face. I can't, ma'am. If Mr. Crane finds out... He won't find out. I just need you to get a message to someone. Who? Joe Callahan, at the ranch north of town. Can you do that?" Molly hesitated. Clara could see the war playing out on her face. Fear of Crane against something else. Hope, maybe. Or just the desperate need to fight back against the man who'd trapped her. "What's the message?" "Tell him I'm alive. Tell him I'm in the East Room, 2nd floor. And tell him—" Clara paused. "Tell him I'm sorry I didn't say it when I had the chance."
Say what, ma'am? Clara looked at the girl with clear eyes. He'll know.
Molly nodded once, quickly, then hurried out. Clara had no idea if the message would get through. No idea if Joe was even well enough to receive it. But it was something. A tiny thread of hope in the darkness. She clung to it with everything she had. That night, she heard gunshots. Clara ran to the window, pressing her face against the bars, trying to see. Men were shouting. Horses were whinnying. More shots, closer now. Her heart pounded. Was it Joe? Had he come? Heavy footsteps in the hallway. The door crashed open. Hoskins stood there, gun in hand, face twisted with rage. "Your Cowboy's here. Brought half the territory with him." Clara's heart soared. "You're coming with me." Hoskins grabbed her arm. "Mr. Crane wants you where Callahan can see you." He dragged her through the house, down the stairs, out onto the front porch. The scene outside was chaos. Torches blazed in the darkness. Men on horseback surrounded the house, at least 20 of them. And at the front, sitting tall in the saddle, despite the bloody bandage around his chest, was Joe Callahan. Clara's knees went weak. He was alive. He'd come. "That's far enough, Callahan," Crane's voice rang out. He stood on the porch beside Clara, a pistol pressed to her temple. "One more step and she dies." Joe raised his hand. The men behind him halted. "Let her go, Crane."
I don't think so. Mrs. Whitmore has become quite valuable to me.
"She's not your property. Everything in this territory is my property. You just haven't accepted it yet." Clara could feel the cold metal against her head, could smell Crane's cologne, sharp and sickening. But she wasn't afraid. Not anymore. "Joe," she called out. "Joe, I'm all right." "Clara, listen to me. Whatever happens, take care of my children. Promise me. Nothing's going to happen to you. Promise me." Joe's face was anguished. "I promise, but I'm not letting him take you." "You don't have a choice," Crane said. "Lower your weapons, all of you, or I'll scatter her brains across this porch." Nobody moved. Clara looked at Joe, at the man who'd saved her, sheltered her, cared for her children like they were his own. The man who'd come for her, with a bullet wound in his chest and an army at his back. The man she loved. She knew it now, had known it for weeks, had been too scared to admit it.
Joe, she said softly, I need to tell you something.
"Clara, don't. I love you." The words hung in the air. Joe's face transformed. Pain, joy, desperation, love, all of it mixed together. "Clara, I love you too. I've loved you since the moment you stood up to Crane in that street. I was just too much of a coward to say it."
You're not a coward. You're the bravest man I've ever known.
"How touching," Crane sneered. "A declaration of love before the tragedy. Very poetic." "Shut up," Clara said. Then she moved. She'd been waiting for this moment, watching Crane, learning his patterns. He held the gun to her head, but his arm was extended, off balance. If she moved fast enough, unexpected enough. She dropped. Her body went limp, falling straight down. Crane's gun fired, but the bullet went high, missing her by inches. Before he could adjust, Clara drove her elbow into his stomach. Crane doubled over. She grabbed his gun hand, twisted, heard something crack. The pistol fell. Clara picked it up and pressed it against Crane's forehead. "Don't move." Everything stopped. The men on horseback stared. Hoskins stared. Even Joe stared. Clara stood on the porch with Victor Crane at her mercy, his own gun in her hands, her chest heaving with adrenaline. "Mrs. Whitmore," Crane gasped. "Let's be reasonable." "Reasonable? You kidnapped me, threatened my children, shot the man I love." Clara cocked the gun. "Give me one reason I shouldn't pull this trigger." "Because you're not a murderer." "You don't know what I am." "Clara." Joe's voice was calm, gentle. "Clara, look at me." She didn't take her eyes off Crane. "I'm listening." "If you kill him, you become him. Everything he represents. All that darkness. He deserves to die." "Maybe, but you deserve better than carrying that weight for the rest of your life." Clara's hand was shaking now. The rage was so hot, so consuming. This man had hurt her family, threatened her children, terrorized an entire territory. She wanted him dead. She wanted it so badly. "Mama?" The voice came from behind Joe's men. Clara's heart stopped. Emma pushed through the riders, Sam right behind her. They must have followed, must have insisted on coming. "Mama, please don't." Clara looked at her daughter, at her son, at the fear in their eyes. Not fear of Crane, fear of what their mother might become. The gun lowered. "Get him out of my sight!" Joe was off his horse in an instant. His men swarmed the porch, grabbing Crane, grabbing Hoskins, securing the others. Clara stood frozen, the gun still hanging from her fingers. Joe reached her first. He took the gun gently, set it aside, and pulled her into his arms. "I've got you. It's over. I've got you." Clara broke. All the fear, all the rage, all the grief she'd been holding back came flooding out. She sobbed against his chest, clutching his shirt, feeling his heart beat against her cheek. "I almost killed him," she gasped. "I wanted to kill him." "But you didn't." "I was so close." "But you didn't." Joe pulled back, cupped her face in his hands. "You chose mercy. You chose to be better than him. That's who you are, Clara. That's the woman I love." Emma reached them, throwing her arms around both of them. Sam stood awkwardly to the side until Clara pulled him in too. "My babies," she whispered. "My brave, stupid babies. You shouldn't have come." "We had to, Mama," Emma said. "We couldn't let you fight alone." "You're never alone," Sam added. His voice was rough, trying to hide the emotion. "You taught us that." Clara held them tight. Around her, the chaos continued. Men shouted orders. Crane was dragged away, screaming threats and promises of revenge. Torches flickered in the darkness. But in Clara's world, there was only this: her children, Joe, family. The ride back to Callahan Ranch took forever and no time at all. Clara sat in front of Joe on his horse, too exhausted to ride on her own. His arms surrounded her, steady and warm. The other children were waiting when they arrived. Lily ran to Clara before she'd even dismounted, nearly pulling her off the horse with the force of her hug. "Mama! Mama, you came back!" "I came back, sweetheart. I'll always come back." Ben attached himself to her leg. "Mama, I was so scared. Tommy said bad men took you, but Mr. Joe would save you, and he did." "He did, baby. Mr. Joe saved me." Even Ruthie was there, sitting in Sarah's arms, still weak, but awake and smiling. "Mama, I missed you." "I missed you too, sweetheart. More than you'll ever know." Clara gathered all 5 children and held them as long as her arms would allow. The relief was overwhelming, almost painful in its intensity. They were safe, all of them, together. Joe stood to the side, giving her space, but when Clara finally released her children and turned to him, His eyes were bright with emotion.
"Thank you," she said. "Thank you for coming for me, for not giving up."
I'll never give up on you, Clara. Not ever.
"How did you even— the wound?" "Doc Patterson patched me up.
Bullet went clean through. Missed anything important." He touched his bandaged chest. "Hurts like hell, but I'll live." "You rode all that way with a bullet wound?" "I'd have crawled if I had to." Clara crossed the distance between them, stood on her toes, kissed him. It wasn't a gentle kiss. It was fierce, desperate, full of everything they'd almost lost. When they finally broke apart, the children were giggling.
"Mama kissed Mr. Joe," Ben announced, delighted. "I saw that, sweetheart. Does that mean we get to stay forever?"
Clara looked at Joe, at the hope and love and fear mingled in his expression. "That depends," she said softly, "on what Mr. Joe wants." Joe took her hands. "What I want is simple. I want you, Clara. You and Emma and Sam and Lily and Ben and Ruthie. I want to wake up every morning knowing you're here. I want to grow old watching your children grow up. I want to build something real with you. A family. A life. Everything."
That sounds like a proposal.
It is a proposal. He dropped to one knee, right there in the dirt, with blood still seeping through his bandage, and children watching with wide eyes. "Clara May Whitmore, will you marry me?" Clara looked at her children. They were nodding enthusiastically, even Sam. She looked at this man who had saved her, sheltered her, loved her without expectation or demand. She looked at the ranch that had become home.
"Yes," she said. "Yes, I'll marry you."
Joe stood and lifted her off her feet, spinning her around while the children cheered. "You've made me the happiest man in Colorado," he said, "and you've made me believe in happiness again." They kissed once more, softer this time, full of promise instead of desperation. Somewhere in the distance, the sun was starting to rise. A new day. A new beginning. Clara held on to Joe and watched the light spread across the land that would be theirs. For the first time in longer than she could remember, the future looked bright. The wedding took place 3 weeks later, on a Sunday morning when the summer heat had softened into something bearable. Clara stood in the cabin that had been her first home on this ranch, smoothing the front of her white dress. Sarah had altered it from one of her own, adding lace at the collar and cuffs.
"Mama, you look beautiful."
Emma stood in the doorway, wearing a new blue dress that Joe had bought for her in town. All the children had new clothes for the occasion. Joe had insisted.
"Thank you, sweetheart. Are you nervous?"
Clara considered the question. Her hands weren't shaking. Her heart wasn't racing. She felt calm, settled, right.
"No, I'm not nervous at all."
"Good." Emma crossed the room and took her mother's hands.
"Mama, I need to tell you something.
"What is it, baby?"
When Papa died, I was relieved."
Emma's voice cracked.
"I know that's terrible. I know I should have been sad, but all I felt was relief that he couldn't hurt us anymore."
Clara squeezed her daughter's hands. "That's not terrible, Emma. That's human."
"I was scared I'd never feel safe again, that every man would be like him."
Tears spilled down Emma's cheeks.
"But Mr. Joe, he's different. He's kind and patient, and he actually listens."
"When he looks at you, Mama, it's like you're the most important person in the world." "I know, sweetheart. I'm glad you're marrying him. I'm glad we're going to be a real family." Clara pulled Emma into her arms, held her tight. This fierce, brave girl who had grown up too fast, who had shouldered burdens no child should carry. "We've always been a real family, Emma. Mr. Joe is just making it bigger." "I love you, Mama." "I love you too, baby. More than anything." A knock at the door. "Clara, It's time. Joe's voice, thick with emotion. Clara wiped Emma's tears, then her own. Ready? Emma nodded. They walked out together. The ceremony was held in the yard between the main house and the barn, under a wooden arch that Tommy had built and Sarah had decorated with wildflowers. The whole territory seemed to have come. Ranchers and their families, shopkeepers from town. Even some of the people who had turned Clara away when she first arrived, looking shamefaced but present. Granny Morton sat in a place of honor, nodding approvingly. Miss Patterson had brought her students. Molly was there too, freed from Crane's service after the sheriff had arrested him and his men. She stood with her mother, both of them crying happy tears. And at the front, waiting under the arch, stood Joe. He wore a new suit, dark blue, with a white shirt and a string tie. His hair was combed back. His face was freshly shaved. He looked like a stranger, until he smiled. Then he was just Joe, her Joe, the man who had stopped her from walking into despair and offered her hope instead. Clara walked toward him on legs that felt steady for the first time in years. The children flanked her, Emma and Sam on either side, Lily and Ben behind them. Ruthie toddling along, holding Lily's hand. A family, walking together. When Clara reached the arch, Joe took her hands. "You came," he said softly. "Where else would I go?" The preacher, a new one, brought in from Denver after the old one had been exposed as Crane's puppet, cleared his throat. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to witness the union of Josiah Callahan and Clara May Whitmore in holy matrimony." The ceremony was simple. Traditional vows, rings exchanged, the usual words about love and honor and cherishing. But when it came time for Joe to speak, he surprised everyone.
"Clara, I had a whole speech prepared. Wrote it down and everything. But standing here, looking at you, none of those words seem right."
He paused, swallowed hard. "So I'll just say this. You walked into my life with 5 children, 37 cents, and more courage than anyone I've ever known. You didn't ask for help, didn't want charity. You just wanted a chance to prove yourself." His voice broke. "I'm the one who should be grateful, because giving you that chance gave me everything I never knew I was missing. A family, a purpose, someone to come home to who makes home actually mean something." Clara's tears were flowing freely now. "I don't deserve you, Clara, I know that. But I promise to spend every day trying to be worthy of you, of your children, of this life we're building together." He squeezed her hands. "I love you, today, tomorrow, and every day after that, until my last breath and beyond." Clara couldn't speak, could barely breathe. The preacher looked at her expectantly. "Mrs. Whitmore, do you have anything you'd like to say?" She found her voice. "Joe Callahan, 6 weeks ago I was ready to give up. I'd been beaten down so many times I'd forgotten what it felt like to stand up. Then you came along and reminded me." She reached up and touched his face. "You didn't save me. I want that to be clear. I saved myself. But you gave me the space to do it, the support, the belief that I was worth saving." Her voice strengthened. "I love you too. Not because I need you. I've proven I can survive on my own. But because I choose you. Because every morning I wake up and you're the person I want to see. Because my children light up when you walk in the room. Because you make me believe in futures again." She smiled through her tears. "I choose you, Joe. Today, tomorrow, and every day after that. For as long as we both shall live." The preacher beamed. "Then by the power vested in me by the territory of Colorado, I pronounce you husband and wife. Mr. Callahan, you may kiss your bride." Joe kissed her. The crowd erupted in cheers. The children rushed forward, piling into the embrace, turning a kiss into a family hug. And Clara, surrounded by the people she loved, felt something she'd thought she'd lost forever. Peace. The celebration lasted all day and into the night. There was food, more food than Clara had seen in one place in years.
Roast beef and fried chicken, fresh bread and sweet corn, pies and cakes and cookies. There was music, a fiddle player and a guitar player who kept the dancing going for hours. Joe wasn't much of a dancer, but he tried, making Clara laugh when he stepped on her toes. There was laughter, stories shared, jokes told, old grievances set aside for at least one day. The children ran wild with the other young people, playing games, stuffing themselves with cake, staying up way past their bedtimes. Even Sam, usually so serious, was laughing. Even Ruthie, still recovering her strength, was dancing in circles with Ben. Clara watched them all and felt her heart might burst. Mrs. Callahan. She turned to find Granny Morton beside her. That's going to take some getting used to. Most things worth having do. The old woman studied her with those ancient eyes. You did good, girl. You took the hard road and came out stronger. I had help.
Help don't mean nothing if you don't have the courage to use it. Granny Morton patted her arm. Your children are going to be fine. Better than fine. They're going to be remarkable. Because they have a mother who taught them that strength isn't about never falling. It's about getting back up every time you do. Clara's throat tightened. Thank you for everything. For Ruthie, that child was going to live no matter what. She's got your fire in her, the old woman smiled. Now go dance with your husband. You've earned it. Clara found Joe at the edge of the crowd, talking with some of the other ranchers. When he saw her approach, he excused himself immediately. Mrs. Callahan, may I have this dance? You just stepped on my toes 3 times in the last song. I'll try to only step on them twice this time. She laughed and took his hand. They danced slowly, out of time with the music, lost in their own rhythm. Are you happy? Joe asked. More than I knew I could be. Good. He pulled her closer. Because I plan to spend the rest of my life making sure you stay that way. That's a big promise. I'm a big man. I can handle it. Clara rested her head on his chest and let the world fade away. This moment, this man, this life, it was more than she'd ever dared to hope for. Victor Crane's trial took place in August. The territorial judge came down from Denver to preside. Half the town testified against Crane, including Molly, who told her story with trembling voice and iron spine. Clara testified too, told the court about the kidnapping, the threats, the years of intimidation Crane had inflicted on the entire territory. When the verdict came, guilty on all counts, the courtroom erupted in cheers. Crane was sentenced to 20 years in the territorial prison. His ranch was seized and sold, the proceeds distributed among his victims. His men scattered. Hoskins disappeared, rumored to have fled to Mexico. The others took what jobs they could find, their power gone with their master. Cedar Hollow began to heal. The families Crane had terrorized started rebuilding. The shopkeepers who had been afraid to help now offered credit and kindness. The preacher's wife, the one who had slipped Clara a biscuit on that terrible first day, became a regular visitor to the ranch. I should have done more, she told Clara one afternoon. Should have been braver. You did what you could. That's all anyone can do. You did more than that. I had more to lose. Mrs. Patterson started hosting community dinners at the church, bringing together families who had been divided by fear. The school expanded, new businesses opened, and at the center of it all, the Callahan Ranch prospered. Joe's cattle bred strong. His horses became famous across the territory. His water rights, the ones Crane had tried to steal, became the foundation for a cooperative that helped all the small ranchers in the area. Clara managed the household, with the same fierce efficiency she'd used to survive on her own. She cooked and cleaned, but she also kept the books, handled correspondence, and helped Joe make business decisions. They were partners in everything. The children grew. Emma turned 15, then 16, then 17. She became a teacher's assistant at Miss Patterson's school, patient and kind with the younger students. When a young man from a neighboring ranch started calling on her, Joe threatened to shoot him if he ever disrespected her. The young man was very respectful. Sam worked the ranch alongside Joe and Tommy, growing into a strong, steady young man. He still didn't talk much, but when he did, people listened. Joe started talking about making him a partner someday. Lily came out of her shell. She stopped carrying Rosie everywhere, though the doll still sat on her bed. She discovered a talent for drawing, filling journals with sketches of the ranch, the horses, her family. Ben finally got to ride Biscuit. Then he got his own horse, a spirited young mare he named Lightning. He spent every spare moment in the saddle, dreaming of being a real cowboy. And Ruthie, sweet Ruthie, who had nearly died twice before she was 4 years old. She thrived. She grew strong and healthy, running through the fields, laughing with her siblings, lighting up every room she entered. Clara watched them all and felt something she'd forgotten existed. Pride. 2 years after the wedding, Clara gave birth to her 6th child, a boy. They named him Daniel Joseph Callahan. "He's got your eyes," Clara told Joe, exhausted but radiant in the bed where she'd just delivered their son. "And your stubbornness, I can already tell." "Is that a complaint?" "It's a compliment." Joe leaned down and kissed her forehead. "Stubbornness is what got us here." The children crowded around to see their new brother. "He's so small," Ben said, disappointed. "When can he ride horses?" "Give him a few years, buddy." "Can I hold him?" Lily asked. "Carefully. Support his head." Ruthie pressed her face close to the baby's. "Hi, Danny. I'm your big sister Ruthie. I'm going to teach you everything." "Everything?" Joe raised an eyebrow. "Everything important," Clara laughed. It hurt, but she didn't care. This was what she'd been fighting for, what she'd almost given up on. A family, a home, a love that was real and true and lasting. She'd found it. Against all odds, against every obstacle, she'd found it, and she was never letting go. The years passed like water through fingers, fast and slow at the same time. Emma married her young rancher at 19. They built a house on the edge of the Callahan property, close enough to visit every day. Sam took over more and more of the ranch operations, freeing Joe to spend time with the younger children. He married at 22, a quiet girl from town who matched his temperament perfectly. Lily surprised everyone by becoming a nurse, traveling to Denver for training, and returning to set up the first medical practice in Cedar Hollow. She never married, but she was never alone. Her patients adored her. Ben became the cowboy he'd always dreamed of being. He drove cattle to market, broke wild horses, won competitions across the territory. When he finally settled down at 30, it was with a woman just as wild as he was. Ruthie, the baby who'd almost died, became a teacher. She took over Miss Patterson's school when the old woman retired, filling it with the same warmth and dedication Clara had once dreamed of bringing to Nevada. And Danny, the first child born to Clara and Joe's marriage, grew up surrounded by love. He became a lawyer, fighting for the rights of the small ranchers against the big corporations that tried to follow in Crane's footsteps. Clara watched them all, year after year, and marveled at the lives they were building. She'd come to Colorado with nothing. 5 hungry children and 37 cents. No hope, no future, no reason to believe things would ever get better.
And now look at them. Look at what they'd become. On their 20th anniversary, Joe took Clara back to the spot where he'd first proposed. The little spring with the cottonwood trees, now fully grown, providing shade on hot summer days. "Remember this place?" he asked.
How could I forget?
They sat on the grass, shoulders touching, watching the water catch the afternoon light. "I had a dream last night," Joe said, "about the day I stopped you in town, when Crane was threatening you and I stepped in."
What about it?
I dreamed I didn't. I dreamed I just walked by, like everyone else, minded my own business, left you to figure things out on your own. Clara was quiet. "In the dream, you got on a stage out of town. You and the children. I never saw you again." Joe's voice cracked. "I woke up in a cold sweat. Had to check that you were still there beside me."
I'm still here.
"I know, but it made me think." He turned to face her. "All these years, I've told myself I saved you."
That stepping in that day was some kind of heroic act.
It was.
No, it wasn't. He shook his head. "I was selfish, Clara. I saw something I wanted, someone I wanted, and I went after it. The heroism was yours. You could have refused my offer, could have kept walking, kept fighting on your own. Instead, you took a chance on a stranger. That was the brave choice." Clara reached up and touched his face. 20 years of marriage hadn't dimmed her love for him.
If anything, it had deepened, grown roots that went down to bedrock.
We saved each other, Joe. That's what love is. Two people choosing to be strong together instead of struggling alone.
When did you get so wise?
I've always been wise. You're just slow to notice.
He laughed and pulled her close. They sat there as the sun sank lower, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. 20 years, 7 children, countless struggles and victories, sorrows and joys. And still, sitting here with him, Clara felt like they were just beginning. Clara May Callahan died on a Tuesday morning in the spring of 1923. She was 68 years old. Her hair had gone silver. Her hands, once strong enough to threaten Victor Crane with his own gun, had grown gentle and soft. But her eyes never lost their fire. She passed peacefully, surrounded by her family. All 7 children were there. 14 grandchildren. 3 great-grandchildren. Joe held her hand until the very end.
I love you,
she whispered, her voice barely audible. I love you too. Always have, always will.
Take care of them. Our family.
I will. I promise. She smiled. That smile he'd fallen in love with 45 years ago, when she was a desperate widow with fire in her eyes and courage in her heart.
I'm not scared, she said. I thought I would be, but I'm not.
Why not?
Because I did what I came here to do. I raised my children,
loved my husband, built a life worth living. She squeezed his hand weakly. No regrets, Joe. Not one. Not even the hard parts? Especially not the hard parts. They made us who we are. She closed her eyes, and she was gone. Joe Callahan lived another 8 years. He died in 1931, surrounded by the same family, in the same house, holding a photograph of Clara against his chest. The ranch passed to Sam, then to Sam's children, then to their children after that. It remained in the Callahan family for generations, a testament to what 2 people could build when they chose love over fear. Cedar Hollow grew into a proper town, then a small city. The old buildings were replaced with new ones. The dirt roads became paved streets. The railroad came through, bringing progress and change. But some things remained. The schoolhouse Ruthie had run became a museum, dedicated to the history of the territory and the people who had settled it. Clara's story was displayed prominently. the widow with 5 children who had faced down the most powerful man in the region, who had refused to be broken, refused to give up, refused to let circumstances define her fate. Visitors came from all over to read about her, to see the cabin where she'd first stayed, to stand at the spring where Joe had proposed. Her descendants kept her memory alive. They told their children about the grandmother who had survived poverty and abuse and despair, who had found love when she least expected it, who had built something lasting out of nothing but determination and hope. And somewhere, in some version of forever, Clara May Callahan smiled, because this was her legacy, not the ranch, not the money, not even the family, though that mattered most of all. Her legacy was the proof that it's never too late to start over, that courage isn't the absence of fear, but the decision to keep going anyway. That love, real love, the kind that supports and respects and grows, is always worth the risk. She had come to Colorado with nothing. She had left it with everything. And her story, passed down through generations, continued to remind people of a simple truth. No matter how dark the night, morning always comes. No matter how desperate the circumstances, hope always survives. And no matter how broken you feel, love can always put you back together. Clara May Callahan knew this better than anyone, because she had lived it every single day until her very last breath.